Family, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever on a day. And welcome to the program Inside Salon today. Now the then and now media empire with the broadcast live na Facebook. Me now na host and presenter Mohamed Kamara, popularly known as Supermed. And today na Saturday, the 26th of June 2021. Family, as we don't see the flyer now, today we get an outstanding interview on the platform. We get no other person other than our worship herself, Madam Mayor, Madam Yvone Aki-Sawyer, where they do tweet on the platform. So please now begin do that usual ritual for begin share the program immediately because we get plenty things today for can discuss and a broad-based interview. So normally we or sector of the Sierra Leoneans say more over Sierra Leoneans and the diaspora for me to miss this interview. I know say football they on maybe they have finished already. But definitely, we will not share the message immediately. Already, we get our worship herself. He already don't generate on the platform now. So, do you know we share the program immediately? Today, I say, now a broad-based interview. We get for cover plenty things. We already about the transformation of Freetown. I worship Madam Mayor, Madam Yvone Aki-Sawyer. They tell you about this transformation of Freetown. We also know say this talk of one. They talk about the empowerment of women. Now with society, for her to become a mayor now with particular society, then another breaking of the glass ceiling. So we'll get for talk about that as well. And obviously, she belongs to the APC party. The APC party and the current situation at the APC party as well. We will talk about her. We will also talk about what thing now all can talk about as the bread and butter issue in the country. Because although in the mayor they fight for transform Freetown, I believe say one way or the other, the bread and butter issue in the country also they set a challenge to the job we do and for all in constituency in Freetown. So ladies and gentlemen, fellow Sierra Leoneans, we now begin share the program. Like what I say no more, they go direct. I don't allow we delay any longer. We go directly. We postpone the broadcast the past 4 weeks now to 10 p.m. UK time, 9 p.m. Salon time because of the current European Football Championship where they take place. We know say most of the viewers them get for watch the football. So take and say, well, Lord, take that into consideration, Lord, push the program so that as soon as the football they end, people will get the opportunity for what will interview them because we will get a broad base of interviews in at this particular platform. But before I go any further, I will let the mayor herself then say adieu to family. Mayor, for the purpose of this interview, I will call you Madam Yvone Aki-Sawyer. Is that okay, ma'am?
Sure.
Okay. Madam Yvone Aki-Sawyer, please now for say hello to family.
Good evening, everybody. I got it for there, and I wish you all a pleasant evening.
Thank you very much. And we're very grateful for getting you on the platform because one of the outstanding people, women, them now we community, now we society, we nation, we country, Sierra Leone. And what you don't do speaks for itself. I mean, I don't need for talk again. What they say, one people, where they stand stranga for that we country day. Where they stranga for make sure say all country will move on from point A to point B. I mean, we're not going to go past you again. I mean, people themselves will be the judge to that. And you've been a remarkable person. We're very grateful as a nation, as a country, Sierra Leone, for getting somebody like you. But like what I said, they move on directly to the interview, man. Madam Yvone Aki-Sawyer, you don't be mayor now for the past 3 years. And now you don't embark on this particular program, this for Transform Freetown. Can you, for the benefit of the general people and the populace, people who watch this program live, tell me what are the success and so far and the challenges them where you don't face, where they try for Transform Freetown to a city where we all go be proud of?
Thank you very much. And I think I could start off by explaining, saying, Transform Freetown knows something something I come up with after. I mean, the whole purpose of running for office. So when I decide for run for mayor, now two specific things in the way when they are in mind, we have been seen as challenges from my own perspective as a resident of the city. The two things that have been very glaring to me as challenge, I mean, the sanitation situation, the dirty, but also the environment. But then once I decide for run for office, because of the way how I generally can approach things then, If I need for do an exercise, Aki-1 for do me research. So because of that, when I decide for run for office, I also take time for get hold of the Local Government Act of 2004. When I in the define the role of councils and the powers of councils, and I review them. And that one is set for me, like basically the envelope within which I know say as a mayor, I go get for operate. So when I've been to do my campaign, I relate me campaign, waiting I say I go do based on waiting the act, give me power or give the council power for do, waiting that we mandate. So we've been calling for a community, for a progress, for a Freetown, because obviously where you do a campaign, the language where they use different to where you come into development, but effectively waiting we see, waiting our review, waiting our understand, waiting our research, we make a guide, waiting I talk, say I want for do as a mayor, now in having the foundation for Transform Freetown. So coming into FCC, having won the election, we take all of waiting we've been set out as the campaign promises, whether now for geomap the city, whether now for ensure say we improve on markets, all of them that we've been doing in the campaign. Now we repackage into the language of development, the language of governance. You move on from the language of politics, where you try just short, quick bites for let people that understand kind of a little mini manifesto, to now the detail. What does that look like? So in doing so, we'll be able to take an important for let we understand waiting at the problem we Transform Freetown set out for solve. The problem we Transform Freetown set out for solve, to me, in a nutshell, now the consequence of massive rural urban migration leading to an explosion of the population of the city from 500,000 to almost 1.5 million now in about a 20-year period. And then at the same time, the lack of development control, lack of urban planning, lack of building regulations and building permit issuance regime, where you can summarize as lack of development control. So the pressure on infrastructure, the lack of housing, the poor transportation routes, the poor sanitation, all of this, na in the challenge we Transform Freetown seek for address. So how will they address them? By recognizing that always I don't tell you so, all of them difficulties, where we all the experience in different ways on a day-to-day basis, you go able for put them neatly and describe them in like categories. So Transform Freetown gets what we call with 4 clusters. The first one, now resilience, because we flip them. You say this is the problem, but Transform Freetown speaks to the solution. So where you talk bottom, where you put the framework, you put the framework in language, when at the forward-looking language. So resilience. Number 2, human development. Number 3, healthy city. And number 4, urban mobility. So that are the 4 clusters. We really take all of them challenges and say how we go deal with them. And then having put them in clusters, you break them now into sectors. So inside resilience, the number 1 thing, environmental management. Because if you remember, talk say, when I'm in Iran, the 2 things the way I see, where they make me heart bleed, was sanitation and the environment. So we get environment. Now, on the environment, for example, you talk about successes. Now, then we get Freetown, the tree town. We don't become a global phenomenon. In fact, I'm really grateful. Say, Ted asked me for do a talk for climate countdown on Freetown, the tree town, and so many environmental platforms from all over the world. Really, they feature Freetown, the tree town as a model. And that now we commitment to build, to plant and grow 1 million trees. And we did on the way with that. Sadly, we had some challenges last year. So we don't do 450,000. In the end, we were able to, and when I say we were able to, I mean, we can point you to every single tree because each tree is tagged and it's tracked. and we get a digital platform where you can go on, it's web-based, so you can go in and you can see each tree. And we get growers, we get tree stewards and tree growers where they monitor the trees. So they actually, then they be paid as the trees and they grow. So we're not just saying we're planting trees, but we can actually show you. And, Dan, they've been very, very carefully organized so that we plant trees for stabilize the slopes, as you know, because of the deforestation, because of which is number of reasons. We can always come back to that. We get this potential for landslides. And it's, everybody thinks of the big one on the 14th of August, 2017, the Mortimer one. But every year with the deforestation and the lack of soil cover, we get mini landslides. So dealing with that, actually stabilizing the slopes by planting on them, now a big part of this. But go beyond that, because you also want to plant economic trees so that say the trees that we plant, the community then have the benefit. So that's just like part of environmental management. So for each of the sectors, and there are 11, for each of the sectors, we get either 1 or 2 targets, a total of 19 targets. Within environmental management, one of the targets we're not here to talk about, so now for increased vegetation cover by 50%. So you get environmental management, you get urban planning and housing, where now one of the areas of major challenge for we. Our success has been limited because the challenges are normally so astronomical, and we will come back to that. But I just want to run through, the 11 priority sectors. And then the third sector where you get under resilience is revenue mobilization, because if you're going to be resilient as a city, most of una dina diaspora, una no se usa una de, the reason why cities function is because cities then get money from taxes where then they put back into delivering services to their residents. But we as a city in Freetown, when I come into office, again, as I say, I do a lot of research beforehand. So I've been already on average, we collect $1.25 if you put them into, US currency, $1.25 per person per the year. Now that's not been the value of own source revenue where the council going to generate. So you already don't say you not get for succeed without drastically changing that, because between we, the residents, and the local authority, or even national governments, you always get what they call a social contract. Me, I can talk, working there with people that get to their midnight community. I can say we na osusu. I can say council na osusu. You get for put parties osusu. You get for ibio osusu, so that you go able to put the osusu. Now we na the master. Now we get for work the osusu for now. But if you not put, that's no good day for every shape. And in the same way, the social contract means that we all get for play with parts. We all get for put waiting that we own due, so that the city can function and actually deliver services. So revenue mobilization also been getting targets when una see realize so through the reform of the property rate system, where, as we know, was also a big challenge, continues to be a challenge, but last year was a particularly big challenge because for the first time ever, I believe, in the history of Sierra Leone, and maybe even in the history of the world, I don't know, but you get a situation where the Ministry of Local Government stopped the council of the capital city from collecting the revenue, we represent over 65% of their resources. But thankfully, we don't go past that one day, and we issued our demand notes in April, and people are paying because, as I say, this is our social contract. We as the residents, because me a resident, as well as being the mayor, me as resident, we get for pay, wait till we for pay so that the city can function. So that's resilience. It's about how do we keep our city going? And that means we have an environment where climate's adaptive. We get housing with a major issue, but as I say, there are major challenges with that. And then, we also get the revenue base so that the city can actually go beyond today. And in terms of that, we move from having this $1.25 where we would be roughly about 7 billion leones, to now having the capacity to collect 45 billion leones if there is good compliance, if everybody paid in dues, because we really use technology in the same way like how others talk about the use of technology with the tree planting. We really use technology with the property rate system. You know, it was a book, it was a physical ledger when I come, and you know, we had sort of small incremental steps, but the main sort of solution now before use a satellite image over the entire city, because prior to this, only 30,000 properties, domestic properties being done with books in a city of 1.2 to 1.5 million people. Clearly something wasn't right, you know. So because the system before was manual, it was very difficult for in a short space of time, you're able for, you know, create a comprehensive database. But by using the satellite image of the city, and then by, again, with technology, being able to do the roof lines, measure the roof lines, we move from 30,000 properties to now we have 117,000, which means that we've brought in like 70% of Freetonians, when having property owners, nobody ever they pay rates.
Wow.
So talking about the Osusu, people there nobody pay a part.
Yes, may I just interject quickly on that point, because it's very, very important that the revenue mobilization and also the amount of people that want to use technology for able to ascertain the amount of household now Freetown and everything. I mean, the numbers are remarkable and outstanding. And we really say thank you plenty to you and Una Council membership for that outstanding work. But one thing where people like ask about quickly, where you clarify for we be no say for a long time now, we get this monthly cleaning where they go on. Where I think say the central government will work in partnership with the council for me and carry on this monthly cleaning where they go on, because we know say one of the big challenges, we always see recently you video them where they sensitize people them about keeping the city clean. Now big challenge in that city, because obviously the population don't swell up plenty one. So what's happy where it stop up to now, because we be know some people have been saying about the COVID, but we don't know why, or maybe till unless the COVID finish. What is it?
The last one was, there was none in 2020. So COVID came in March 2020, stopped in January 2020. There was none in January 2020. So this is now a year and how many months? So we don't do July, June, a year and a half. But I want to say, you know, in actual fact, the videos and what they do, the whole thing about sanitation, and we will come to sanitation because it's part of Healthy City. The thing about sanitation is that it's a system, and processes. It's not an event. You know, I guess you tap in the UK. I can't tell where you're.
Yes,
where
yes,
you are.
I do. Yes.
Okay, so when I do monthly cleaning at the UK, no,
not at all.
Everybody cleans every day. Whoever borough you day, whoever Camden or Wimbledon or Hackney or Haringey, you see every morning sweepers from your local council, they sweep the streets, no so, and then they collect your garbage from your house every day. So having a system where encourage, and you know, people make the comparison with Rwanda, and it's totally different, because waiting Rwanda when you do or does is they have this Umuganda Day, which is once a month, and it's really a community day. Your sanitation cannot be dependent on people keeping garbage at home for a month and then having this huge effort of collecting people's garbage once a month. You know, I kept on saying, even during the time we've been there on, I know this was never the vision, you know. In all fairness, when Ayeri, the president, explained them, that wasn't the idea. But that's what it became because of how it was run. But you can never, you can't plan sanitation in a city on the basis of a once a month cleanup. I mean, it is absurd. Okay. So waiting the idea being B, it should have been a time of sensitization. So people like come together. Maybe there are communal spaces where you clean. But for say you keep your house dirty, that's malaria, that's cholera, that's rats, that's dysentery. And we saw all of that stuff. So it's good to use a day when you go say, okay, focus day, let's clear the gutters. Okay, there's some field over there we don't use as illegal dump, which we still have, is if you do something for people for free, then you discourage them for paying for a service when a service where you need for pay for. So if you remember what I said before, up until just this year, this is the first year in which we were able, because although we put in that new system last year, we were prevented from using it. So this is the first year where the city as a whole, all man they received in demand notes, all man required for paid and property rates. So we're able to increase the revenue, and therefore we're already sweeping the streets. You know, it costs 630 million a month to do that. So if you get people used to the idea, say, let them not pay the tricycle man for can't collect them dirty before they spend that 2,000-3,000 leons, then decide instead for keep them, then keep the dirty, then pull out a mountain of garbage. Waiting to happen is that people's mentality, and this is what we saw. We actually saw our tricycle guys lose their customers because person will say, no, I don't pay you. I keep an eye, then we can't collect some months done. But we know that creates more health challenges, and you actually need a system. So wait till we get in sanitation is a system. It starts with behavior change because, as you remember, as I said at the real beginning, that two things and drive me for left me life, private sector, and move into this role. And those two things were sanitation and the environment. Because in 2017, 2016, we did Operation Clean Freetown in 2016 to 2017. But Freetown, this was when I was at PDT, leading the President's Recovery Priorities team, the delivery team. But in between, when that project was over, there wasn't that sort of sense of ownership, and more significantly, there wasn't a system. So years of not having waste management systems like everybody else in other parts of the world is accustomed to, years of not having that means, say, people then get into a habit of illegally dumping waste. Take today, which is what these videos have been about. In a zone competition, winner incentive. We have community outreach, we have community enforcement, we have our teams, they do this on a periodic basis. You go to a community, you do spot checks and see, you know, okay, have you guys got garbage in your compound, you know, the place around with our dirty? If so, we get stickers, cleanup sticker. So then they stick the sticker on your wall. In 3 days, the Met Police come and check based on our database. They go and check. If you're not on cleanup, you pay a fine or you get arrested. So you have that happening, but again, because of challenges with personnel numbers, because, you know, we did pay catch up. We did try for increased revenue, but there's a transition period, right? Between now, because like now, so we've got 17% compliance. We're in June because we took a long time to start because we weren't given the green light to use the system until February. Then it took some time to get up and running. And then there was so we're like April before people had their demand notes. So people are now paying. So you still don't really have the revenue, but you've got to get the work done. So you did do the work, but you don't do them at scale. You know, they do them as fully as you want for do them, but you did do them. So, okay. So what's the system we have now? In simple terms, everybody needs to have their waste collected from their home. You know, they go put your dirty in a street. Like, who does that? Like, who stand at the world did you go put your dirty in a street? You know, I know that people say back, yeah. I mean, people are like, oh, no, put dirty box. Come on. You know, we were doing that in the 1960s, 70s, and 80s when we get 500,000 people in our Freetown, and there was like lots of space. You go put dirty box now, not it's not taxi drama. You'll have a mountain in a minute. You'll have a mountain. Plus, it's so unhealthy, So the idea is you have the tricycles collect your waste, or Masada, or any of the other trucks. So we have Find Me in Freetown. We have an app, www.findmeinfreetown.com. If you don't know order for collect your waste, and you get data, go on your phone. You just press. You say choose my location, show my location. You press that one day. It tell you say you did what 433. Then it show all the one way they collect .in what 433. If you don't get this kind of phone or you don't use that kind of thing, you can phone 8244. You can use Orange, you can use AfriCell, it's a short code, 8244. The person will answer, you tell this in a yata, then go give you all the one way they collect in your area. You call them, let them come, you make your arrangements. In time, when we revenue based on stronger, we not go get for do this. We the city, go to collect everybody in garbage the way it's done in other parts of the world. But like I say, we did a transition. So for now, we did ask residents, we are not pay property rate yet, and we don't pay, we not get enough for say, we'll now take over household waste collection. But we hope to within the next 2 years. So in the meantime, you call the tricycles, we don't build transfer stations. So they don't have to go long distances. This is another challenge. By now they should be operational, but because of internal challenges, we're not able to buy the equipment, to get them going. But by God in grace and power, that's going to be done in the next couple of weeks. From the transfer stations, then we take the garbage to the dump site. And we're working on recycling. And we also have built for the first time ever a fecal sludge treatment plant. Because for all of we with Freetown, I know myself, now we have become mayor. Now I know say all the stuff that goes from the toilet, nothing happens to it. It just gets deposited right there on the ground at King Tom. So then if you reach King Tom, because only 6% of it was going to King Tom in 2018. But now we don't build a wastewater treatment plant, a fecal sludge management treatment plant. So now the stuff where they come up from the toilets gets treated, the solid stuff gets removed, we compost and make it into manure, and they can be used as fertilizer. And then the water goes as gray water. And now we build hoses so that we can use that water for hot fires in the solid waste element of the dump site.
Okay, Madam Mayor, Lord just because what you explain here is really outstanding, remarkable. But I want commend you for one way you talk about that monthly cleaning exercise. The way you explain them, it makes a lot of sense because government said they spend plenty money for do that one off, and that not to what don't see who says so long day. Now that's why I see so many other countries that not a sustainable way. So I mean, maybe the money said that plenty money government they use, maybe even divert themselves for that purpose. So the city council will able to use them in a better way, more managed way, because people they do that work regularly, and they know say they get and pay and everything. I think that's remarkable. The way you don't, I think say anybody we want a Freetown clean. The way they explain it, so they go tell you thank you plenty one. But again, one thing I want to tell you thank you plenty for. Now that plant where you say that water treatment plant where we waste, we out the treat and the other thing, environmentally is friendly, is sustainable. I mean, this is outstanding. I mean, maybe people in the area this quite enough. Now I make with the Ozem program, I love they talk about them because the idea is and how you don't manage with all the challenges them where a place like Freetown gets for able to make sure say you accomplish some of them here, not easy at all. That is remarkable. But one thing I want to come back where I ask you about what you can experience now Freetown, now plenty flooding. And plenty people they talk and say now due to overcrowding, now plenty places where you can describe saying as storm, the likes of Bay, the likes of Moab, clients, so many places. How you go able to tackle them kind of problem in there? Where you know able to deal with the, I mean, for make sure say this not going to happen year in, year out. People like lost their life, people like lost their property and livelihood. How the council will able to deal with that kind of situation, Madam Mayor?
So waiting, you get the short term, immediate, and then you get the medium term and the long term. So when I come in as mayor, I tell you, say we been get we still not even don't go through all the different priority sectors. I think we just reached now revenue, but we get like quick wins. And for me, under environment, flood mitigation was like so important for do as a quick win. So you go see saying just before the rainy season, we do the massive exercises for all flashpoints for flooding. And we do this with communities. And you talk about the informal settlements, you call them slum. And yes, they're called slums, but they also can be referred to as informal settlements. These people now we great partners. They're absolutely wonderful leadership. Federation of Urban Rural Poor, and we work with them for understand where it is, because I mean, like Krube, for example, then when you get terrible flooding, and when we walk and say, okay, like where exactly this flooding starts, we can find out, say there was a bridge built by one NGO some time back, where the bridge been on collapse, and even it acts as a dam. So when rain come, all thing the deck stuck by that bridge day, the concrete where we don't for them inside the river, the Crocodile River. So we actually got equipment and lifted it out and took it away. And that actually allowed the water for flow. In Susan's Bay, I should say, and I've seen them really terrible pictures after the fire. And there again, you know, you get all of this, and this is, I'm just gonna stop that, and I'm gonna go back one and tell you, say, flood mitigation, we do every year. We get the communities involved, we use the trucks, we use the Army in the past. We didn't use the Army this year because we not be able for, actually Army leadership change. And so far the new head, not been that keen for letting men them participate in the way they have before. But we really hope, say, we're gonna come back in and do a phase 2, because we'd already do a phase 1 this rainy season with funding from UN Habitat, because we can just crowdsource. We can look for different ways of getting funding to get this done. Now, the problem with all of this, it's like just dealing with the symptom, not dealing with the cause. Because I start off before and I say, excuse me.
Sorry, yeah.
If you ask me, waiting at the problem with Transform Freetown, the seek for address, I talk about rural urban migration. I talk about population explosion, but I also talk about the lack of planning. And that, for me, because even if you have an increase in your population, if you plan for that, if you anticipate, because the UN will tell you, say, in the next, between now and 2050, 75% of the world's population is going to be living in cities. And the growth of those cities, 90% of it ever happen in sub-Saharan Africa and Southeast Asia. So we know this is coming, and we don't already see any happen. So our big challenge is that, you remember I said, when I was doing the campaign, I go read the Local Government Act. I look all waiting there and say devolve to councils. So when we do Transform Freetown, we do them on the basis, and when I campaign, I do them on the basis of what the law says. Now, the challenge is that what the law says and waiting to happen in practice is actually really different. So for a city, the most important tool where any city leader will ever get the urban management, because effectively a city is like this book, okay? Here's the book. This is my city. And you get houses, you get people, you get roads, you have all different things on the city, right? Then you say the mayor, now ain't they in charge for making everything go on fine in this city. But then you give somebody else say, no, now me go can't talk, waiting the bill now, but not the time mayor, mayor just waking up morning, you say they don't build this now. Then somebody say, me I dig road now, I don't get for time mayor, I just dig no coordination. And then what still, mayor, you're not allowed for make any plan or any design. We're gonna make sure, say, if anything they happen there, it happen efficiently. That's the impact of not having land use planning and building permit issuance as a function. And then functionally, they are devolved to councils everywhere in the world. I happened for day on the supervisory board of a World Economic Forum council group for, it's called net zero carbon cities. And it gets a cross section of people from business, etc., business, local government. But I mean, I was really struck because I was on a call with them last week. Somebody who is a representative of one of the global banks, he made a statement, and I mean, get for come back to him. He say the one thing all cities have is the regulatory authority for planning cities. And I was like, yeah, you would think so, because it is the most important thing, most important tool that you can have in urban management, but yet we not get enough Freetown. And when the New Direction government was campaigning, they had in their manifesto, say within 1 year of coming into office, they will devolve all outstanding functions that will not yet be devolved to the councils. So you can imagine how excited I was that we go able for plan. So if you look at target, if you look at the second sector, urban planning and housing, you go see, say we get target, we did around the structural plan for the city and ensuring that 90% of all buildings abide by building regulations by 2022. Because we were, we come in with this expectation, say, okay, there's an appreciation and understanding that you cannot plan, you can't run a city if you can't plan a city. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Yes.
But here we are. Last in 2019, the 7th of March, just days before the 1 year anniversary, the Interministerial Committee chairperson and the vice president, immediate effect, all of these functions are now devolved. Shortly after, the Minister of Lands go on radio, the then Minister of Lands, and say, over my dead body, we're not devolved that into none of these functions to the Freetown City Council. And here we are now in June 2021. 3 years on, and no, it's not devolved. In fact, on the contrary, look, the Audit Service Commission do an audit in 2019, when they published in October 2019, where shows say pretty much zero, like less than 15% of properties in Freetown have planning permissions. And the planning permission framework, take environmental issues into consideration. I mean, like it's not even clear. But besides that, you also have the situation where, like recently, you get people that need build in waterways, people that need build in protected forest areas. So you asked me the question about flood mitigation, and I said I needed to talk about this because I need for explain to say, you are not going to solve the problem unless you can plan the city. So I'll give you an example of Old Road. I don't know how familiar you be with the east end of Freetown.
Very familiar. Go ahead.
Okay, so if you go from Kisi, Shell, Texaco, all that side, you go see them and get deep gutters, we've been built, like back in the day, proper gutters. But wait till you go find is that because there's deforestation on the hills, because there's no planning, because people then build any side, because they talk about these slum communities, but it's not just about informal settlements. It's not at all. You go see, we don't do this year. We don't do year before last. We don't dig them gutter them. Tall, man map inside the gutter. It not come out. But then let rain fall on 3 them. The gutter they full up back, and it is full up with red dotty because you don't have drains, because you didn't plan the communities. You don't have roads that are covered. It's so much cheaper for plan something than for try for retrofit them.
Absolutely.
I would say to somebody the other day, the expression poverty begets poverty. Not for nothing. And it's not necessarily poverty from the perspective of there was no money to do this properly. It's also a question of poverty of mind, because people then can take shortcuts in order for not to spend the money the way it should be spent. And then really, why would you centralize a function where every place else will develop you say these are decentralized functions. So again, I'll use the example of where you're living right now, right? If you date, now you oath, even if you want to do lost conversion, not so your local council you go.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And there
You have
is
to
a
approve
reason.
it.
There is a reason, because you need to have structure and you need to have plans. And you need to know that when whatever incremental thing to be done by the residents of the city, not go get a negative impact on the overall running of the city. If you allow people to build in waterways, you go get flood. If you allow people for cut down trees anywhere, and then to build wherever they want, however they want, and to make their own roads, or indeed no roads, because there are whole communities with thousands of people. We're coming back to sanitation. You not even get paths. Usai tricycle go up. There are areas which are so steep that by right, they're not for building, because you know it's going to create landslides. You know that. You know we're going to have trouble down the road. So why'd you give the permits? Maybe because you don't have to deal with the mess. So when the floods happen, guess who they call? City council, mayor. When all the red dotty can at the road, now we don't know. And then, of course, we also have the garbage issue. Because if you don't allow communities therefore grow, now place who say no access, no day for sanitation vehicles, guess what they do? They put it in the gutter, the drain, anywhere. We're in camp, who say the camp, right back down at the road. Who that they call mayor. Now that's make in other countries where they're not and serious about development, then it makes sure say all of these things are integrated. Because if you want to actually get effective service delivery, then you need to make sure say all them things then they then dovetail. Because you the plan, so you know say you sanitation, you want for implement them effectively. You make sure say not allow people then for build site, outside and not go get sanitation. You don't allow them for build also not get toilet. Like we get a bylaw, we say all hosts for get toilet and kitchen. However, and that outside oneself, we not say you get for being integrated, but you forget. Okay. But then you have a situation where not really get the building permits, even though in the law we should. So the possibility to get building permits, know they get toilets or not. And so what's happening? People then they build host them, then they pack her with tenants, no toilets, black bag. Now we go pick an agota. Then he send her over the black bag. For those of you who don't know what's in the black bag, but the bodily outputs. Now they go in a black bag. So you see what I'm saying? These are the challenges. And I would say that is my biggest challenge as a city leader, for you not to be able to plan the city. We have planners, the story of, they're not getting capacity in that council. I'm sorry, we do. We brought in capacity. The same way we brought in capacity for able to do the geomapping, for able to do Freetown to Treetown, for able to build 6 transfer stations, for able to run, because this system we have a complaint hotline for sanitation. We do work on recycling, as I said. We're working with the World Bank on a new sanitary landfill. So capacity can always be bought in, particularly where you get a vision where you try for implement. But to not devolve those functions, where you're talking about a centralized national ministry. How do you then plan for 22 local councils? You don't. So what do we end up with? Chaos.
On that point, Mayor, I want to add say that common sense, that poverty of common sense as well. Because people in authority should have the common sense say, if somebody who they run the city, they kind of clearly explain them, put them, common way everybody say able to understand them in detail. Is that you get for able to get the authority for make sure say anybody want to do something in the city, they go through the council, let council approve them. Because council get for make sure say then check say that particular building or that also the bill, in order to right of where go block who say what they pass, we go block say got all those sort of things. And now we are faced with the challenges of reoccurring all the time this problem of flooding and so on and so forth. And it's really unfortunate, but we hope say, then people don't get poverty of common sense. That poverty will go lift up the head, then go see a clear picture. Say, yes, but if we say let this person run this, now we give them the tools the way you need for run them. And as you somebody they run the city, for able to know how people they put gutter and they all thing. I mean, it makes sense. The question make the example no more of United Kingdom. Anything they do now, one makes a back say cancel the approval and cancel and say, hey, this is go fit for the other and no fit for the day. So why won't we now Freetown adopt thing the way now progressive thing them where so many other countries they don't do and don't benefit all man. So these are the
act. It actually did at the act, you know, so it's like in the act, but it's just never happened. Wow. So clearly they want to do the Local Government Act because back in the day, you know, Freetown is 229 years old. Freetown's older than Sierra Leone, you know, and in colonial times, the city council, the municipality, we don't get a mayor from 1893, the first mayor of Freetown. We had city engineers, we had city planners. Freetown was planned. But in the years that followed, you know, the time we councils were dissolved, and then now after the war, where the TMC shows say the TMRC, Truth and Reconciliation Commission,
yes.
TRC shows say one of the real challenges with the war was the lack of decentralization. So the 2004 Act was designed to address these issues, and here we are, you know, failing to actually implement, you know, the act itself. But these are challenges, but there's so many pluses as well. So I'm really happy to say, like, yesterday was one of those days where we continue to deliver on objectives that we get under education. So let me just quickly go. So we did revenue, and then under human capital development, we have education, we have skills development, we have job creation with a tourism focus, and we have persons with disability. Then under healthy city, we get health, sanitation, and water. And then under urban mobility, we get urban mobility, which is about how you move around the city, and that's where the cable car comes in. So I'm conscious that it's 10 minutes to 10 now, and we're kind of running out of time. So I will say to listeners, we website actually gets we reports. So if anybody's interested for read up on waiting we don't you do, you can do that, www.fcc.gov.sl. And you can also follow me Facebook page, Yvone Aki-Sawyer, Mayor of Freetown, because we tend to post pretty much every day, you know, updates on waiting you go on. And we're on Twitter as well. But just to quickly say that one of the things we can really make me heart glad that I work already do with Pikinim. And yesterday was the community engagement with the Kruta Road Markets Umanem, because we will now open a nursery school free of charge for children of the market women, really high quality, so good. And we do construction work upstairs at Kruta Road Market. We don't finish the work now, for us open a nursery there. And yesterday we engaged the mothers, the traders. We now were able for let them picking them, you know, under the age of 5, actually get a really good educational foundation for Freetown, you know, at the cost of Freetown City Council. We raised the money from a philanthropist, and they're called the FCC Early Learning Adventure Centers. So we get Kunguata markets now, and now we can get Kruta Road Market. So that's just like one of the many things we can make me heart glad.
Okay, you know, thank you very much, Mayor, on that particular point. That is outstanding. We'll tell you thank you plenty. I mean, we don't know you thank you enough, because what we don't see under your leadership of the Freetown City Council, we have to be honest, we don't get plenty people. We don't really see anything like this way, really thought through and executed in a way where people even actually able watch and understand, say, wow, this is so Freetown forget something. So they tell you thank you for that. But like when you say more time, per bit too small, while we rush quick by this tier, so we'll ask you one question, very important. What we say, people that they ask, your election as the mayor of Freetown is being seen by many as the breaking the glass ceiling movement for Sierra Leone. So what do you think say need to be done in terms of empowering women in our society? Because look how we can't get it. I mean, I don't know if other women mayor them, but young women mayor who don't get na Freetown. I mean, Mr. Salon takes small, but I don't live in Freetown for years and years. And when they see such transformation from Musa Ikomo to Usa Ide within 3 years. It's been remarkable. So what if we say we as a society for encourage and empower women and within our society, because I believe say they are the majority in our population and that people are going to contribute a lot if only given the opportunity. What now you take on that, man?
Yeah, I mean, I agree entirely. Say women get a lot for contribute. We make up 51%, actually. We're not the majority in terms of the population. But, you know, you can look in so many cases, you know, I'm going to use like the race analogy on the, you know, so you see where you get structures them, where don't be set up by those way be more dominant. So like, for example, when you talk about institutional racism, you know, basically you've got institutions set up where they favor people of one race over the other. So you come in with all your skills and all your competence as a young Black man, and you just find things stacked against you because they're designed so. You know, it's the questions that you're asking in an interview are designed, you know, to not give you that break. The people that we sit on the panel could all be of one race. And human beings tend for associate and empathize with those way fibare. You go into a political office or into a political party, and there's some sort of selection process or even nomination process for candidates, and you look across the room and it's all men, you know, and that's the reality. I mean, very recently I've been in a meeting and I looked around the room and I actually got up and said, there are 27 of us in this room and 25 of you are men. You know, and there's something really wrong with that. And you actually need the courage to let people that realize, and it's not easy. It's the same thing with the race. You know, it's the same thing with the global South and the global North. I mean, I say this to colleagues. I'm like, you guys going on about, you know, the global South, you wanting to do this. I'm like, please give me a break, right? We all know, say, there's a finite pool of resources, and everybody who has wants to keep what they have. And the game is to pretend that they want to get other people to have more whilst actually making sure that they retain what they have. And that's what's happening with women and in the political space. It's like all this rhetoric, but in reality, some people just love the fact that they've had the power all along. But you know something, we the women there, we're tired. We're tired of not being able to give to our children what they deserve. And we know we can do it. So women are here, we're demonstrating it. I'm not an exception, actually. You know, maybe just because I happen to be the mayor of the capital city, but there's some amazing women. There are many amazing women breaking glass ceilings every day and delivering in this nation. And I think we as the women, are making sure we put our hands together, raise our voices louder, and hopefully have more people like yourself who recognize that it's not a fight. We want good leadership. If not woman, they give you good leadership, why not? Look what the New Zealand Prime Minister do. You think the people who were spared from being decimated by COVID are going, oh, we wish it was a man. Isn't it a shame she's a woman? Come on. What we want is better lives. Whoever is leading it, you know, their gender should not be the determinant. Their output should be what we're concerned about. Absolutely,
Mayor. And I just want to reiterate your point again. The woman, the Prime Minister of New Zealand, has been seen one of the most outstanding leadership during this pandemic, global pandemic. And then a woman where we don't see where New Zealand gets trouble safe, the way I handle them, first in its kind. So exactly, that's another good example, Mayor. But as time a bit now, I want to move quickly to another segment. You know, a key stakeholder in the APC party. And what the APC go through so many challenges, court cases after court cases. What are you take off? What the APC party they go through today?
We go get through them. That let me take. We go get through them. The party don't see court cases in the past. They don't come together and don't overcome. And right now, I believe, say, as a party, we're really concerned about the masses, the plight of the masses, the high cost of living, you know, the challenges we experience every day. So I know say we go come together and we go get past this.
Okay, well, we hope so. Thank you very much once more. And let's just round up for say, because I don't talk, you don't talk already, waiting, I'll ask you back the bread and butter issue. You know, you can say the bread and butter issue, they affect everybody now the country they elect today. And you, as the mayor of the Freetown municipality, how that one they say they bring a big challenge for you work where they do and for the country in general, you people where they lead.
It's a huge challenge. I mean, when I came in 2018, we talked about street trading, building markets. The number of people that we've been in our streets as traders in 2018 to now, it don't increase significantly because work not there. So many work opportunities we've been there in the past, you know, mining companies, agriculture companies, they're not there. They don't close. You know, we know others are coming up and we really hope, say, then go come up and then go really able for, you know, create jobs. But as it is now, people that really, really they struggle. And unfortunately, and a kind of the antumot, when are the most common one, now for let people then sell markets. And markets then we're then in the process, we don't start for Global First Market. It should be finished by the end of the year. And then we get 4 other markets where we can sign, you know, imminently, probably next week, we can sign the contracts then for the development of those markets. But if you build markets, say you build markets, if what I work no day, then you will still get people on the streets. So it's about investing. And I really, for me, another big area, a big challenge, now investment out of the city. I believe, say, if I remember rightly, the manifesto of the New Direction, we talk about, I think they may talk about factories in every district, where before make every district get economic activity, employment, without pull for let all man come Freetown, not before day. So the challenge we face now Freetown, they reflect the fact, say, that kind of investment, not to go on in the rest of the country, like how people then be expect according to the manifesto promises. So for me, how it affects me because that lack of investment in other parts of the country, they draw people then cannot Freetown. You cannot Freetown now. It's difficult. We'd already talked so much about the lack of housing, the lack of planning, the fact, say, you know, we're not able for get investment into the city from a job perspective. Freetown also, yeah, all the jobs and good day. You know, in fact, you're more likely to have highly skilled jobs in Freetown because we don't get agriculture now, we not get mining now. So if all they want in the camp, what's in the campaign? Junks trading. And I don't raise this as an issue. I don't raise them, you know, with the relevant government authorities. Say, you really thought need to be given to these junks selling, this junks importation, microcredit for junks. You go see people that they buy clothes for 1 million, 1,000 million, 2,000 million. So when they wear and on, you know, say at the end of meter, now what's aside? All that part of the dirty where they full up the gutter them. You go see so close them. Some days you go sweep. Now some parts of Freetown, you go meet person don't left all the shoes them when they not sell them because they're so cheap today. And not just for letting get 1,000, 2,000 for go buy rest for that day. But I mean, it's not, when you think about how an economy should be structured and organized, when you think about productivity and waiting this kind of only route, quickest route to livelihood, it actually work against the growth of industry. Tilaman, you know, because every person is able to go buy junks, then go buy the junks instead of then go to Tilaman. So all of these things, you know, you get for really where you plan and you economy, where you want to talk about bread and butter issues, you really get for think about holistically. When you look, you know, there are all sorts of theories, you know, in the economics I study. My first degree is in economics, my master's in international relations, and I do trade particularly. So and then I'm a chartered accountant. So when it comes to how you organize and you think about what you're doing in the economy, you get that interconnectedness. What you do on one side, it get knock-on effects on another side. So you can't think of anything in silos. So yeah, so now so we did not an direct impact on the council of the bread and butter issues.
Okay, thank you very much, Mayor, Madam Yvone Aki-Sawyer. I mean, we're glad we will get you on the platform, and you painstakingly don't explain to we don't open we hide them to some of the things we want to do way before say it's remarkable. And you belong to another pioneering party when at the APC party. Is it not time for the APC party men and look like somebody like you for being a leader? Because I mean, the kind ideas then where you get, the way I lay business through, I mean, it's very, very inspiring. Mr. So then I would listen to you. And Mr. said that international relations are waiting. I'm inspired. I mean, I think say this Mayor, I mean, she could do so much if only given the opportunity. What do you think going forward? Maybe
what kind of international relations you study?
International relations me study. In fact, I had a lecture as well. Now broad-based basically govern the empires, European empires and everything. It's just broad-based with different modules can put together. Okay. Yes, okay. And it get business modules as well, like brand communication. Like we say, Freetown is a brand as well. How you communicate and keep the reputation of Freetown going, and also what we call intercultural business competence. All of those sorts of things put together. But I mean, you've been outstanding. I'm not going to what's not there for say, because I can see the motivation, the ideas them where you get. And I think I'm saying if she's in a national platform leading that country, maybe something different will happen. I mean, I don't know what you take going forward for your political career, but an APC is another pioneering party. Maybe they should be thinking about that. What do you think?
So I really thank God for the opportunity to serve as mayor. Freetown represents 20% of the population of our country and 30% of the GDP. And waiting could be really important. Now, for we able for crystallize the ambition of Transform Freetown, the challenges we really face, both externally and internally, because even as an institution, change in some way people then react to differently. And I know say the kind of focus I get on delivery, it don't shake things up internally, even in the institution, because not so one person tell me, say one councillor tell me, say, man, we not use this, so we not use this, we not carry out for this.
Absolutely.
But it was good natured. He actually say, no, I don't learn so much. And we really glad he say you now we mayor, and we really able for make impact on our communities. So all this to say that I really feel that in the next 2 years, we get a lot for still do, and I remain focused on getting that done. And yeah, I mean, the world is a changing place, and we look at our continent, we see the potential. And I'll come back to this point about women. We see the potential, and we know say we for tap into that potential. So whether you're doing it at the city level or the national level, let's focus on what matters, getting the outcome. So Nadi, what don't so?
Okay, then thank you very much, Mayor, for that diplomatic response. And we'll watch out for you because we believe, say, you can do a lot. I mean, you are a remarkable person, outstanding person. And we, on behalf of this platform, the Den and Now Media Empire, very much so grateful. I believe say most of we viewers them at the platform, very much grateful for because all the comments has been positive. I don't see one comment was negative. That because the way you don't articulate it matters and the issues. All man talks about this, it makes sense so much. It's unbelievable. So again, on behalf of this platform, I want to tell you thank you when you take time off your busy schedule for joining me today and at least explain to we some of the things the way they do and tell what you don't do and what are the challenges the way they face now. Freetown, we wish you all the best and we always look out for you and hope say yes. Most of waiting we are going to do so. All the challenges them are going to overcome them. So once more again, thank you very much. I worship Madam Yvone Aki-Sawyer.
Thank you, and have a good night.